I did here because of all of that. And thank you.
Hey guys, it's your girl Okwe and welcome to the All Shows Nigerian channel where I review Nollywood movies, series and reality TV shows. Today I'll be reviewing the latest Netflix series, Nollywood Netflix series, the most anticipated Nollywood Netflix series for the past 4 years, titled OLOTURE The Journey. Honestly, when I tell you how excited I was to see that this series part 2 was finally coming out, I was over the moon. Like, I feel like it's been such a big deal in my mind because I feel like part 1 was such a really good movie. The storytelling was like amazing. It just invoked a lot of emotions in me, and I was I was really looking forward to part 2, and I'm really happy that part 2 finally came out. And yeah, I immediately, as soon as it came out, the same day I watched it and the same day I'm filming this review. So yeah, if that sounds like your vibes, please subscribe, please like, please turn on your post notifications so you get notified every single time I post a new video. And yeah, let's get into this movie review. So the initial movie that came out in 2019, which was just titled Oloture, for those that may have forgotten like the storyline and everything, the summary for that particular movie was, about a journalist that goes undercover as a to expose, but she only finds a world of exploited women and ruthless violence. Meanwhile, the summary for this new series is working undercover as a sister in Nigeria, a young journalist out to expose corruption fights for her life as she forges a path to Europe. So that's what part 2 is about, this new series. The main cast for this movie was Sharonooja, who was also the main character for the previous series, the previous part. We also have Beverly Osu, Omoni Oboli, Stan Nze, Amarachuku Ono, Shegun Arinze, Bukola Oladipupo, Buchi Franklin, I hope I pronounced that well, Ikechukwu Onukaku, and many more. The cinematography, the angles, and the cast performance and progression of the movie overall, I feel like were on point and highly impressive. Honestly, one of the best levels of cinematography, best levels of acting, and everything that I have seen so far in 2024. I feel like the movies that have come out so far in 2024 have been really good. And I hope we as an industry, continue to provide, stellar performances like this and like stellar movies like this in the future for the rest of the year. This movie being a thriller, I feel like it was very captivating and very well executed. Just the right amount of suspense, mystery, and drama. And I would also like to express, for those that have not watched part 1 or 2, trigger warning, this movie is very graphic and touches on very traumatic topics and very, gut wrenching topics and conversations. So if that's a lot for you, I would definitely say this is not the movie for you, because it is very unnerving. Definitely invoked a lot of emotions in me for sure. Like, I found myself crying and just, clutching my pearls in like different scenes of this movie. It was a really heavy and sad movie in general, and highlighted how the government sadly isn't for the people, even though they say they are the government for the people, of the people, by the people. Yeah, okay. But in fact, the government is very corrupt and a complete letdown to its people due to its morally, financially, and ethically corrupt and highly incompetent leaders in power. So I feel like this movie sadly just highlighted that, because at the end of the day, that is truly what is going on in our country. Like, the people that are supposed to protect us, and fight corruption are the ones that are trying to cover it up and do the worst basically in society. So I love that this movie highlighted that, even though it is kind of sad because yes, this was a movie, but in actuality, or in actual fact, this is what is happening in our society. My cons for this movie are not really much, but I just had a couple of things that I feel like where could have been done better. For instance, I don't know why in Nollywood movies they never cast or find foreign characters whose acting or tones aren't cringe or monotonous. I feel like the scenes with the foreign boss, who I think his name was Antonio, Mr. Antonio, like, it was just so cringe. His voice was highly monotonous, and I was like, why is it that we never find like foreign people, like white people, other races or whatever, that have to play like roles in movies? Like, we never seem to find actors. Like I feel like they just find random people to just play those roles, and it literally like translates when the movie eventually comes out, because it's like they're not convincing in their roles. It literally sounds like they are reading a script, and I just feel like we are so far in this industry that we shouldn't be making stupid or silly mistakes like that. Let everyone in the casting department be good, including the foreign actors and everything. Like invest in them also, because at the end of the day, it shows in your movies. I also feel like they could have just made this series into a movie, or better still, 2 episodes, because all the episodes were nothing more than like 35 minutes. So I just feel like it didn't make sense to make 3 episodes, just 3 episodes, and they are 35 minutes each. Maybe I'm just like reaching. I know I complain a lot about movies being long and like maybe sometimes being too short, but like I feel like it just, the way they like spread out this series does just didn't make sense to me. I just feel like it would have been better to just make maybe each episode like an hour long, and then just make it into 2 episodes as opposed to 3 episodes. But that's something very minor, little details. At the end of the day, yeah, it's okay. I don't know if it's just me, but I got really lost in the scenes with the at some point they were beefing with each other, and then later on in the movie we see them like, working together. So what exactly were they beefing on in the very beginning? Maybe that whole story with the and like their whole background and everything was covered in part one, but let's be real, a lot of people that watch part two right now did not bother, including myself, did not bother to rewatch part one. So I wish that the producers of this movie or the directors of this movie at least gave us some level of like something to like refresh our memories regarding like what happened with the from part one, if that makes sense. It was really hard to remember like in detail like what happened with them, and I just feel like at some point I was really lost with like the progression of like what was really going on in that particular aspect of the movie. Am I the only one that felt that way? It was just a bit confusing, because it's like today people are, threatening each other, wanting to steal each other's girls, your girls that work for you and everything, bombing it, shooting people's girls and everything, and then in the other scene we're seeing them like partner with each other, and at the end is like we didn't even, there wasn't really any like close up or like context to like their relationship still, even till the very end. So I just feel like that was a bit confusing and misleading, and they could have done better in that aspect. Also, why did Beauty seek out to work for after her very traumatic experience of how they treated her sister, what happened to her sister in part one, and how she literally risked her life to literally escape that whole like situation, or to come back into that same lifestyle? I just feel like that didn't make sense to me. I don't know if that was supposed to be a lesson, or like prove the reality of these things actually happening in our society, but I just feel like it was kind of like dumb for her to like literally risk her life to escape similar situation and then come back to like being picked out by it. I just didn't really understand that, and it just didn't make sense to me. I also don't know if I like the cliffhanger ending to this movie. I feel like for them to have delayed making of part two, or like delayed releasing part two for like 4 years, the least they could have done is giving us a wholesome and satisfactory ending for this series. And I feel like they kind of didn't hit the mark, didn't hit the brief regarding that. I feel like I was left wanting more. I feel like I was left confused. And even though the actors did a phenomenal job, I just feel like the storyline was progressing really, really good, but at the end it just fell really flat, and it was like really all this build up and all this like anticipation just for what, a very lackluster ending. So I feel like I didn't really like that. So those are basically my cons for this movie. My final rating for this movie ended up being a 7.5 out of 10. Would I recommend this movie? Absolutely. Of course, except for the trigger warning. If this is the kind of movie, this is the kind of movie that would trigger you. So if you feel like you cannot handle that level of triggering, I would suggest you don't watch this movie, because it is highly triggering. But regardless of its lackluster ending, I would say that I was very immersed in this film. The actors did a phenomenal job. Like I said, sharonooja, she's one of the best in the industry. Stan Nze is also a really, really good actor. Yeah, and the progression of this movie definitely, I would say, made up for its inadequacies at the end. But that's really all I have to say about this movie. Comment down below if you have watched Oloture The Journey, and if you haven't, please try and watch it if you can, or if you know have the stomach to like actually watch it. And I would love to hear your comments and listen to see. Why am I talking like I hear your comments? I would love to see and read your comments in the comment section. Once again, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you in my next one. Bye.